Good evening. Welcome to the Town of Amherst Historic Preservation Commission meeting for October 8th, 2024. Can I have a roll call, please?
Mancuso,
Present.
Ampleman,
Present.
Swartz,
Here.
Waterman Culpa, Hershey,
Here.
Kenzie,
Here.
Wright.
Here.
I'm going to do it. Marinucci, Fidel, here, Quinn, Howard.
All right, thanks everyone. I did receive an email before we begin from the town attorney stating that they would not be attending the meeting tonight. So if there's any issues that arise, they'll have to come from the recording. So next item on our agenda is a meeting minutes approval from September 10th. Does anyone have any changes or alterations? Nope, hearing none. Can I get a motion to approve?
Kate Waterman Culpa, motion to approve.
Can I get a second?
I'll second.
Second from Ms. Kenzie. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0. Thank you. On to new business. Item number 1, local landmark nomination for 46 Gettsville Road, also known as the Arthur E. Hedstrom Estate. This is in your packets. This is new information that was submitted to the board. We discussed this at last meeting, but we received a certificate or a landmark designation application form along with the backup documentation supporting that nomination form. So currently, I don't know if anyone's had a chance to review any of this otherwise, but I will open it up for discussion amongst the board members.
Should Haley?
Yeah.
go
Do you
through?
want to make a small
Yeah,
presentation?
Just talk about it. So,
Sure.
This is the mansion that is directly tied to the carriage house located at Main Street, which is locally landmarked. And this one was built in the 1900s to, I think it was Arthur Hedstrom, who was a big coal producer and manufacturer in the Buffalo area. He built this as a summer estate, and it extended from the Main Street area all the way down to Sheridan. So there was many, many acres of property. This building is now has been converted into different apartments, and on the property there are also 11 townhouses that have been added in the 90s. So.
Okay. Yes, you've got some baseline information here in the packet with some photos, and then a short synopsis of the type of style. Do we have information about who the builder was, or the architect and stuff like that? Okay.
Yep, there was actually, I think there was an application submitted in the early 2000s, if I'm not mistaken. So
Okay.
there is a lot of information available on top of what I also submitted.
Okay. Is the town in possession of that application? Yes. Great.
Did we get a copy of that?
Not yet. No.
There should be a copy of the application in the packet that you have today.
Does that include
The original one.
The two,
the 2000s application?
the original application for the gatehouse further down. Okay.
The other one is, I think there is something that was submitted. It's on Chris.
What?
Maybe
So
not to the town of Amherst, but maybe, yeah.
Okay, great. So supplemental information on the state's website, the cultural resource information source. Okay, great.
let me just. I just want to warn you guys. The criteria for state and national register is similar but slightly different than the local designation criteria. So it's okay to use that information. Just make sure that if you're gonna tie it back to the local criteria for designation. So that's just want to throw that one out there.
Yeah, whatever's on Chris will be used as a resource to add to make it a stronger application, but not necessarily have the same parameters as, right, will be used to determine state or national nomination. Okay. So then, oh, sorry,
Just- I
go
have
ahead.
A couple questions.
Yep.
So there is another structure on the same property that is designated already
Correct.
historic. Do we, there's not,
It's not the property, it's not the property, I'm sorry.
Original property
the original
that
property.
has now been subdivided.
Okay, so it's a different property, but it's close proximity.
So if you look at the map, at the bottom,
Mhm.
the rectangular section at the bottom is the locally landmarked designation gatehouse
Mhm.
on Main Street, and then this area shaded in yellow, which was part of the original, is what we're talking about. Actually, just the center home
Yeah,
on that.
The original property also included, I think, 3 other buildings that are along Gettsville Road. Which has been demolished, I think in 2012, and then the one right behind it is still standing, and that was built for family members in the Hedstrom estate.
So my question then is, when the designation was pursued for the other properties, was it also pursued for here, or if not, why not?
So I just want to like see if I can mark up our guy up here. This property here is the Hedstrom Gatehouse. That is already locally designated. It was not included with this property here that we're talking about today, which is according to our records, 46 Gettsville. It's identified. The range of properties on 46 Gettsville here is identified in our reconnaissance and intensive level surveys. So it is locally eligible for designation. I would just add that I think we should be specific about which ones, if all of them, we should be specific about it.
Yeah, the reason I ask is I just wanted to know if this ever came up before and why it had not been pursued. So if we don't know, that's okay too, but I would say I don't know.
No, but I suppose it's possible.
I think it was.
So someone
Someone did it, I think, at the
was
same
seeking to
time.
designate this property,
Yes.
and
I
okay.
don't know why.
I don't have any record of it in the town, or it hasn't at least happened recently, but
No worries.
I'm sure it has.
To me, it just seems like a no-brainer. That's why I'm just asking if
Right.
there was some kind of hiccup along the way. But okay, thank you.
Mary Lou.
I just wanted to add that we had a wonderful tour of the Gatehouse. And for anyone who doesn't know, Gatehouse was where they took the tolls for the people coming from Buffalo to Amherst. So, and it is preserved exactly as it was, almost.
Norm, did you have a question?
Yeah, Norm, here, questions, question, 46 to 58 Gettsville Road are each, is that like 6 different addresses, or, but is it different, are all the buildings owned by one owner, multiple owners?
Gatehouse owns owned by one.
That's a separate property that he's asking about. I think the 46 to 58 is that whole complex. It has multiple addresses, I believe.
Is that the 1, 2,
So
Yes, okay, yeah.
7, 8, 9?
how many different buildings then are being landmarked?
Just one.
Just one?
Yeah, so the
Yes.
original house shown in these photos is the one that this application is
Yeah,
for.
where is it in that green
It's-
square?
It's right in the center, so the photos that I included currently are just of the actual building itself, the mansion. The other surrounding properties were added later on in, I think, the 90s. So those would not be eligible.
Thanks.
Yeah, here's a good picture on 1E of the home in the nomination.
Haley, did you do all this research? It's beautiful.
Thank
Very
you.
good.
I did have help though, because the person that did get the nomination for local landmark status for the carriage house did an incredibly, like, an insane amount of work that was available with all the sources. So kind of piggybacked off that.
Okay. Do you think we should defer to a committee to add any additional supplemental information to this nomination in order to make it more substantial? Or is there any other, I'm kind of deferring to Kate on this one a bit. She's got more experience in this area.
I'll just have one quick question, and maybe
Sure.
it's a silly confirmation. So I guess that cul-de-sac in High Court, is it safe to say from Main Street back to this area was High Court?
James, you can confirm it is blue rated as per the survey?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. Well, I would say initially, I think this is worth pursuing for a nomination, but there's probably more information available out there that can be compiled into one application.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we need to check the other sources, like
Mhm.
Chris and I don't know if you had a chance to check the intensive level and the recon and see what they said about it. And then if you pulled everything from the Carriage House nomination that needed to be pulled.
And I can compile just all of that into one file for us to look at as well.
Yeah, definitely.
And we can add to it and then, yeah.
And a narrative about what Jen was saying about what the development of Sheridan to Maine and
Over time.
Catonsville happened, and sequence that maybe in some more diagrams
Yep.
as well.
This, can I ask, this drawing that's here, if this is for the property on Gettsville Road?
That is, and it was actually serviced by Olmsted Sun. So they kept up the landscaping with,
And this property is still extant, or was it the one that was demolished?
no, that's the mansion.
Oh, this,
That's the
it's
Hedstrom.
like a side elevation of it?
Yes,
I
yeah.
see. Okay.
Then can we get do we have a photo from this angle?
Yes, I think, James, if you go back to I think, so that one on the left side and the right side, so if you just turn it, and I can always go back and take another photo so we can have an exact side by side.
So basically, that's,
The elevation?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah. So like the primary facade, and then you go to the left and just turn it, that would be the other elevation.
okay. Are the drawings of the entire property available, or is it just this one?
I think it was the whole entire property there through a museum that has them on file.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's great. So then we could add those to the application as well. That would be extremely helpful.
Yeah,
Okay.
be all comprehensive.
And then it'd be great to annotate these photos, like.
The elevation
what
and, yep,
elevation they
okay.
are, if there's any kind of special detailing, which
Feature that
obviously
they're
there
trying to
is.
Demonstrate, so you
Yep.
kind of hone in on what you're actually.
Yeah, for sure. I don't think it's available on the application to add that in, so I can absolutely add in little annotations for that.
And then, so there's no site buildings other than the mansion that's being considered for this.
Correct.
So I think it's important to identify the site as the property being, the structure being nominated, and then saying what's not being included in the nomination.
Yeah, I mean, there has been quite a lot of loss on the property. There used to be a pool house, a pool, and I think a carriage at one point, and those are no longer there. Those were demolished when the new buildings were built in the 90s.
And is there any evidence of the Olmsted treatment that still remains? We're not sure.
I'm not sure. I didn't
Okay.
study that one that much, but
Yeah, were there landscape plans?
there might be an aerial of that. I'll just have to double check.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know that stuff can get hard to.
Yeah.
To track.
Yeah.
but-
We do have that as a criteria. Site is one of the criteria. So if that, it makes it a bit stronger, I would say, if any of the original Olmsted treatment remains on the site.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you ever get to go in these properties?
Yes,
Did-
I have been in them.
You have been in them.
The interior is not the same as it was 20 years ago. I'll just say that. I used to live in this property, so yeah.
Okay. So allowed to have, would you want to have anyone work with you, or do you want to take on compiling all this yourself?
Am I able to answer that question after we go over the next
No,
property
yeah, we
that's
can-
on
we
the
can figure it out
the
later.
slide for today?
Okay.
I'll absolutely be included in it. I just don't know if I can handle both this and the other property.
Sure. Okay.
And then we'll need maybe some historic maps too.
Perfect.
That's missing. And we should be able to get a UV aerial as well.
Mm-hmm.
That Kate?
The Sanborn maps.
Well, they have
and the
aerials, the
too,
black and white
photograph.
aerials.
Yeah,
Mhm.
1927, I believe. Yep.
Yep.
Okay. Does anyone have anything further to add? Nope. All right, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn this item until we gather more information.
Kate will second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0. Thank you. All right, item number 2 is 4511 to 4521 Main Street. We received another a local landmark nomination form, which is in your packet, and I will let Haley give a little presentation once again.
Yeah, so this is the Art Deco Plaza that's on Main Street between Harlem Road and Lincoln. And it has a few different addresses, but I think it starts out as 4511 to 4521 Main Street. Again, it's Art Deco Plaza, and it has had many different stores throughout its time period. So in the packet that's included, there have been a Loblaws, which was through Canada and the United States, a larger grocery chain, and that occupied the right side of the building, kind of more towards the center. And then it was a New Way grocery store, which was another larger chain in the Buffalo area. There was Pacific Tea Company, which was one of the largest tea companies in the United States, starting in the 1800s. There was a Jewish deli and a restaurant. So it's always served as a commercial property that was right kind of in the center or a staple in the Snyder area.
Haley, that was the Adams Rib.
It still is the Adams Rib.
Oh, is it? Okay, I didn't see a sign. Well, maybe they went out or something. It's the old Adams Rib, or the current Adams Rib?
Yeah, they recently redid the facade of the building, probably in the last 6 months. And obviously there was a car accident that plowed through the front of the one side of the building.
So this application covers the entirety of the width of the Art Deco portion, not the
Correct.
building next door?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And I did include Sanborn maps. It was not there in the 20s. It was built in the 30s. So I was able to kind of overlay and show how it pretty much has stayed the same. There haven't really been any additions towards the rear of the building.
Okay. Does any board member have any commentary or Anything they'd like to add or questions?
I have quite a bit, Brian, if I may have a moment.
Please
I don't intend this to be a filibuster either, but I think you'll find in my time on this commission, I'm going to be a bit of a stickler on this criteria that this is being applied under. This embodies the distinctive characters from an architectural standpoint, because I really believe that we have to hold these structures to a higher standard. That word embodies to me just means it has to be exemplary of that architectural style, right? For a couple reasons. Because one, I think it adds value to that property as being historic, right? If we start making everything historic, then that kind of waters down the significance of some of those truly historic buildings. But also at the same time, we are, if these things become landmark, potentially imposing some restrictions on the future use of the properties, the enjoyment of it by the property owner. So we have to take it seriously, in my opinion. And when I also want to say, you just know it when you see it, but when I look at this building, I just don't think it rises to the level as embodies that architectural style. To me, it just doesn't tell the story as much as other buildings of that era, especially because now we have a facade that's completely kind of different here too. I do see some of the architectural elements which are significant, but to me, I just don't think it rises to the level of, like I said, telling the story that you're presenting, Haley, in the narrative about the old uses and some of that architectural significance. So at least in my opinion, I'm going to be a hard sell on this one. I'm laying out the groundwork on it. That'll be a tough sell for historic designation on this one.
Yeah, I think having the local landmark nomination would save it for the neighborhood now, but also moving towards a national register so that the building owner can take advantage of historic tax credits with any rehab that does occur and holding it to that standard. So it is within a qualifying census tract, and they would be able to, redo the facade or fix the windows that are not historic at this point. Also, you'll see a lot of times in commercial buildings, they would set back. So that facade has been there since the 60s. And on the first level of the building, a lot of commercial buildings would set back. So I don't think that facade was there. There's more research to be done, but it does show that Art Deco style that was popular within that time frame.
Do you know if the owner would be amenable to pursuing tax credits?
I don't. I mean, that's something that we can definitely speak to them about. The historic tax credits, I think, are tricky because people think that they have to follow certain guidelines. So if it wasn't a local landmark, at least getting to that national register and being able to help building owners and property owners to withhold that certain standard.
So two things. Is it blue rated? Do we know?
It is.
Yeah.
It's
It is blue
identified
rated,
in those
okay.
surveys.
And then is there information about it listed on Chris, and is it eligible on the state level on Chris?
Not yet.
Okay. There's nothing listed on Chris about it?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
Oh, not that it's not eligible, just there's nothing
Nothing. It
on
hasn't
it.
been surveyed
I
yet.
haven't okay.
Mhm.
Is it in any of our surveys?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what would appear on
Hence
Chris.
its local eligibility,
Okay.
yes.
That information is probably in Chris, but nothing else.
It's not in Chris. It's only
Okay.
available through the town of Amherst.
Okay.
Haley, I just wondered, what part of the facade is reminiscent of Art Deco? The medallion part I can see?
This, the whole entire second story is that with the Art Deco style, along with those columns on the side of the building on both sides. So it's pretty symmetrical other than the frozen fountain, as they call it, on the center of the building.
So it's the columns, the medallion, and what was the third thing you said?
The columns.
Columns,
There's like
yeah.
a frieze almost in the
Yeah.
above the second story
And
window.
you'll see also in between the windows, there are little details on the smaller columns. I don't know, that's not what you call them, but above those as well.
Haley, can you help? So what there is now, how does that relate back to the Loblaw grocery store picture? Because that looks like it's four
Yeah.
stories of windows.
Yeah.
This is only two. The
Mhm.
grocery seems way bigger, and it's exceptionally symmetrical with the two window bays on each end and then three. But then ours is
Mhm.
not symmetrical, right? The bays are totally different. So
That's
I'm
the-
struggling to
Yeah,
put the connection.
yeah. So that one listed in the packet is a Loblaws warehouse in Toronto, and that was built around the same time period, and it has the Art Deco style on the facade.
Gotcha. Okay. That helps because I was like, there's no way
They
that
just
that
rehabbed
became
it too,
that
so I can yeah yeah no,
without
no.
being demolished.
That's like a
to
whole
the
block.
ground. Yeah. Okay. Woo.
Have we exhausted all opportunities to find a picture of this building pre, looks like 1960s?
Oh, yeah.
The only photo that I was able to find was from 1966 and it had the same facade where the real one, like, I don't know, business that is. But I did look through hours and hours of any newspaper clippings, online resources to try to find any Loblaws and see if maybe they had a similar style when they built it. But I did try, but I mean, that was just myself. So
So it was built as a Loblaw?
the one portion of it was in 1932.
So is it the one with the waterfall, or is it?
Yeah, that was like the entrance of the building, and the rest of it was other commercial properties.
So, but it was built at one time?
It had to have been.
Mhm.
Well,
Looks like it was.
it looks like it's in it's in 2/3 and then a third. The 2/3 section with the center
Right,
entrance
it's
and then the
very
other third.
symmetrical in terms of the bays.
Yep.
Excuse me, Hallie, what's the packet page 31? There's a picture of a Loblaw Grocerias.
Oh, that's,
What is that?
Yeah, so just to go over that again, that is the Loblaws that was built in Toronto as their warehouse, and it has a similar Art Deco style,
Okay.
built in the same time.
so all of these photos and maps and everything need captions.
Again, that's not available when putting that together, but I can add those in after.
Haley, I'd be remiss again if I didn't thank you for the hard work on this. It's good, very good.
So do we know if when the salon was redoing the first story, if any original structure was behind it? I mean, it would seem that
Yeah.
like this brick would be, it's one brick width away from it, so you would
Protrusion, yeah.
assume that the original was behind it.
Possibly. I
To
didn't go along
me-
the whole thing.
Yeah, to me, where the salon is damaged, that brick facade looks original to me. So that was like a commercial storefront facade underneath that wood.
With that dental brick detailing.
Yes, it's painted right now, so it's kind of hard to tell from the photo, but that stands up to commercial buildings that were built in the same time period. Because I think the Adams Rib had some sort of shingled exterior at one point before they redid the facade recently.
Is that what it looks like now? I haven't
Mhm.
been down
Did you check with the Amherst Museum collection to see if they had any
there. I was wondering,
photos?
would the town have
Mm-mm.
anything going along the street? Not necessarily being specifically like the Loblaws reference, but just something.
Yeah.
And the town surveyed Main Street in the 1950s. I don't know how far down they went into Snyder,
Okay.
but they definitely did the village. So there's black and whites.
That's what I
that
was thinking,
the-
somewhere it might
the
be
Williams-
No, it has to be
The
somewhere. Like,
Williamsville Historical Society has
Yeah.
those,
Okay.
I think.
Is there anything at the Buffalo Niagara Heritage Village? Maybe? Okay. Thanks, Gary.
Because I think that would make a stronger case for a landmark nomination. If we
Right.
were
If it
to be
didn't
able to
change.
provide this, so when you landmark something, you have two options. most of the time, there's two options. It's keep what's there, or you can turn the building back if you want to. Not necessary, but here's another option for you if that's what you want to do. And how to make the case for a certificate of appropriateness to do that is to have a photograph that says, I'm going to do that now.
Yeah, or here's what it could look
Like an
or
example,
could be,
yeah.
actually.
Okay.
And I do think this is I mean, I understand what Jeff's saying. However, Art Deco in Amherst, super rare. Super,
there another one?
super rare.
Is there any in Williamsville even?
There is, yes. There's the Tesori building is Art Deco, and so is, it was the car dealership across the street. It was, it's, what is it? It's an Escalo property. It was Blum's, and now it's, like a furnishing store.
Okay, well, maybe we can look into who built those in that time frame and see who the architect was
Both
too.
of them were car dealerships. At least the one on the south side was. The other one, I'm not sure what its original use was at this moment.
And I totally understand where you're coming from, Jeff. I mean, the bottom has been altered many a time, so it doesn't really scream anything exciting. But the beams and the columns in the second floor definitely do.
And Haley, I love to see these little remnants of long ago where we haven't torn them down, and we're just doing that, and I love that little strip.
And that's what Main Street was. It was storefront systems that could be plunked in and out, just like now, right?
Yeah.
So it's not unheard of for the first floor of these to have been modified over time. And it does tell the part of the story. I mean, you've got the colonial swooped, awnings over there on the end with this horrible brick, facade that they did in a couple of places up and down Main
Doesn't
Street.
that look like the 70s brick or something? I don't even know.
Yes.
Oh, the edge of it. Oh, wow. Okay.
Well, that might be enough just to take that little part and try to duplicate that down the row.
That's from that looks like a 60s picture with the car.
Well, that's a different
On
one,
the town's
but,
website?
and where is this?
That's the edge.
Oh, the edge of it, but we need, yeah. Because that column's still there.
It's the fake stone portion to the left.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Well, based on that photo, I'm ready to nominate the building next door. Get it, put it back.
Wow.
I think it was built around the same time.
I think so too.
It shows it on the map.
Yeah, right.
Where's that one? Is that one still there?
I think it could have some, I totally agree with you, Jeff, but I do think there could be some potential that's worth further investigation, and then see what we can uncover if it really justifies
Well,
what's here or not.
it also can qualify under criteria 5, unique location or single characteristic, a familiar visual feature in the neighborhood. We probably should be electing that as part of the criteria as well.
Art
If we can get to 2, that's one thing, but definitely I see this as a vehicle to maintain the existing infrastructure. Not, you know what I mean? Like, and maintain the density that still exists.
Brian, I don't mind, I don't intend to be combative. I don't mind being overruled on it. I think that discussion's outside the purview of this commission, right? That's more of a land use, zoning board, planning board kind of discussion. That's not what we're here to do. And as far as, even if we went with the other criteria for the surroundings, like you're saying it's an important location in the neighborhood there. If you look in the context of the surrounding uses, I would argue that there really is no more prevailing character there. We have a gas station, we have setback buildings, we have modern kind of suburban mixed-use buildings. I'm not sure that this really contributes to that because there is no more, it's very disjointed.
Yeah.
And it's
I
funny.
think it's fine. I love it. I think it should stay. But we're talking about making it a historic landmark. So the question, I'm just focusing on the historic components of this building, and I just don't think it has. That's my
Do you
opinion,
think
but fair
if
enough.
so if it was truly, like, if all the facades that have been put in there would reveal a full Art Deco facade, does that sway, right? Or any, okay. Sure.
And it is funny because since the 1900s, there has always been a gas station right there set back in that same exact location, which is just a funny
Well,
little side
nevertheless,
note.
it's
Yeah.
not a mixed-use gas station. It's just a gas station, right? Not to make a joke about it, but they're just my 2 cents on it. That's all. Thank you.
I just wondered if when you go around the corner, because I was just there the other night to go around and park in the back, that whole corner still exists, right? There's another set of buildings, and then on that corner is another set of buildings.
It's on the
like
map.
these.
Well, it's a separate block.
No, it's in that block.
Just
Because
looking
their
down the
parking is
street,
right
isn't that a
behind it.
separate block?
Yeah, we have the historic map in here, but not a current map.
And they
I was
all,
wondering, this corner lot, I'm not sure, is this open? Like, I'm sure.
Oh, this is the fire.
Yeah, there's, I mean, past the firehouse, is that what you mean?
Is that what you mean?
Oh, across too, okay. Yeah, there's some density still here, yeah. Okay,
I'm going to say it again, behind the real brick, I think there's a facade.
I do too,
There's no reason for it to be out that far from the building.
Mhm.
There's some remnants of that. They've just covered it up. I think those columns go all the way down on the center and on the side. And if you take all that off, I think it's gonna be very easy to recreate what's
Well-
missing on the first floor.
recreating those panels will also be possible. It's like you could replicate those
Oh, yeah.
existing, yeah.
I think
There's enough of the building there to replicate if
The casting
that
or
were the
something.
direction the owner wanted to take, not saying they have to, but there's enough there to actually replicate what's original.
Well, I
Okay.
think it would be interesting too, to, like you said, is there any other Art Deco examples? Because that's pretty,
Not this high style that I can think of. It's
Specific,
not in the
like-
village.
right? Like, just to make sure
there's more
we
Tudor.
understand where this would
Like
fall.
how
Is
important it is.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
It's a,
Tudor churches
Yep.
on Main Street that don't have this type of ornamentation.
money available to remove that facade. If it's not historic, can they get a credit for that?
Well, only
Even
if
if
it was
it's not
land.
historic?
No, it has to be landmarked or
It
has.
has to be at the state and national
National
register
register.
level.
right, so you have to go through the process
Landmark it and then get the
first
money?
locally, then move on to state and national,
Nope,
where,
Not true.
oh, they can
You
go
don't
on.
have to be local.
Okay.
You can go right to state and national.
There you go.
But it would need one or the other.
Well,
No, it could be both.
without that facade, I
You just go right
agree.
to
I
the
think-
state.
I think it would look a lot more appealing as far as a landmark.
So this is what the difference is between local and state and national register listing. Local provides, if you have a historic preservation law, which Amherst does, under the CLG program, we have a mechanism in Amherst to have a commission, to have people come to the commission to ask for a certificate of appropriateness when they want to do exterior modifications. At the state level, there's no oversight unless you take money from the government at a state or federal level through historic tax credits to have interaction with permissions and oversight as to what your plans are for that building. So if you go for tax credits, SHPO will then provide a mechanism for you to ask for permission for what you're going to do to modify the exterior and interior of the building. Local, that comes under this jurisdiction. Both can be pursued for this building, one or the other can be pursued for this building. If Amherst wants to have a say on the future of this building, it would need to become a local landmark. If we would like to say, we have historic photos, we've put together a sketch based on what is shown in historic photos of what we believe this to be, and include that in a nomination as future considerations for future modifications that could be done to this building, you know, and receive a certificate of appropriateness for doing so, then that's something that Amherst should pursue. Because this is a gem. I mean, I agree, Jeff, the first floor deplorable, but it has potential to, I mean, it's a storefront system. This is easily taken right out. This could easily just be taken right off, and you probably have all of this beautiful detailing right underneath, just hidden. But, I mean, we're not gonna say, hey, let's start select demo and find out. So we just want to give people opportunities before, you know, they could do something as bad. I'll say a future owner could come in and just demo the whole thing at this point.
Or vinyl side it,
I mean-
or, right, apply some sort of other
Right.
facade system to it.
So if Amherst wants to have the opportunity to have a conversation with this owner, a future owner, about what the first floor rehab looks like, then it would have to become a local landmark. And sorry if I was looking just at you.
Okay. That was a healthy discussion. Go ahead, Norm.
The entire building is one owner?
It is. It's under an LLC,
Okay.
so I'm assuming it's one owner.
When they're notified that the property is being considered as a local landmark. So that we, during the public hearing process, we would have a public hearing and then decide whether to move forward with recommending to the town board that the property should be a local landmark, and then the town board would have a public hearing. No,
No,
when,
this
when
part,
when we nominate it to go to public hearing.
Yeah, well, we elect, right, to schedule a public hearing for it. They're notified.
And one other important distinction. This property cannot go on the state and national register unless the owner is in agreement.
Right.
So local landmark status just has to follow the statute for the town or where it's located. State and national register is often pursued by the owner or definitely with the owner's consent, usually with the intent of looking for tax credits if they're in an eligible census tract.
Yep. Which is part of the narrative that we'd like to share as
Absolutely.
our board, that want to be preservation positive instead of having it be viewed as all this negative connotation about it. There's ways and means and methods to restore these things. And like to Kate's point, restore this potential jewel that still exists on Main Street.
Yeah, first floor rehab of this would, the value of this property would skyrocket. More than what it already is. I think designation would help this property gain value because there's a clear articulated set of guidance as to what the first floor could become.
Yeah.
If there was a desire to rehab the first floor.
Which they need it right now anyways, so.
Right.
And, right, and
Oh,
it's
true.
fully occupied.
That's true,
You know what I
yeah.
mean? It's,
And it's commercial, so it's
Yep.
ticking all the boxes for tax credits. So, and I think maybe this is spurring a discussion about, we have eligible census tracts in Amherst. We have great commercial buildings in these eligible census tracts. You know, starting a conversation with these business owners, you know, is part of education. And, you know,
Well, that's what I was
we can
wondering.
prepare these documents and then invite people in to let's talk about it. You know, what do they want to see for their property moving forward? You know, present them. We tried doing that with St. Mary's. You know, you are eligible for historic tax credits.
Take
You
it.
can continue to make this property great.
All right, so is there any other commentary or advancement or anyone like to add anything to this before we make a motion?
I would love to really try to find a photo of what this facade looked like.
Sure.
At least until like the 50s. Just something.
It's got to be out there.
Yeah, I don't
I
think
don't
they rehabbed them all at the same time, or they would have made them look all the same. So
Yeah.
it,
that's
because it's
another-
symmetrical, if we can find, I mean, I haven't seen that up close and blown up. I mean, we could probably figure it out based on just bringing everything down from the first floor of what it looked like from that little piece. But I mean, if we could find a big picture, that would be exceptional.
Yeah.
Okay.
So next steps, Brian? What do we?
Gary's gonna look at the.
more research.
Someone needs to go and see what Williamsville Historical Society has when the museum's open and see if they have it and maybe somebody ask the town clerk if they have the 50s photos. Because I think Williamsville might have a copy, the Historical Society, but they were gotten from the town. The town took those pictures.
Mhm.
So somewhere, the town has the collection.
They're there.
They're black and whites, they're 8x10s, and they're of every picture down Main Street.
Might be some in the hallway out here.
It's like literally right there.
Could be. Possible. Okay. Do you, again, like, you'll probably say, like, is there a committee or you want people to help or is there?
Yeah, I mean, I have notes on doing like little annotations for all of like little captions for all of the photos and where they're located and elevations and everything. I'm going to dive more into the landscape drawings, find more historic maps for the Hedstrom Mansion, and then I can visit the Historical Society to dig through those photos.
Okay.
So I think I just need help with the architectural descriptions, maybe.
Sure. Okay.
On some of them. There is a lot of information available already for the mansion. Commercial spaces are just not my specialty, so if anyone wants to help with that, it'd be much appreciated.
The History Museum might have photos as well.
And did you check the theses, like for UB architecture to see if there was maybe one done on the Art Deco buildings of Buffalo or something?
Yeah, I looked through, I mean, I did some digging.
Did Buffalo AH have anything?
Yeah,
Yes.
she already
Yes.
included it.
Yeah.
They're great. I can look again, but I already have done digging on the UB libraries.
Okay.
Good.
Good. All right.
Good.
I would like to make a motion to adjourn this item.
Kate will second.
Second by Ms. Waterman Culpa. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 7-0 for adjournment. All right, on to item number 3, another local landmark nomination for 4467 Main Street. This was received back in May. We've been cutting at it ever since, I would say. We had a small committee meeting a couple weeks ago. We found some maps that indicate where the original building might have been. Yep. That's from our 1932 Sanborn fire map. Yep. It's a couple different iterations of that map. That one shows where the vault is and the demising wall between a store and a bank. So again, we've got, like, I would say we're probably 80% there, but we don't have the full story on how the original building was constructed and if there's any remnants of it today, because we cannot get the maps to line up. So we keep overlaying these Sanborn maps onto satellite imagery, photo imagery that we have, and it's still kind of a mystery.
Do you want to share some of the new findings that we've gotten?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, is that the, yeah, okay. So that's the architectural that I wrote. Yep, no, that's okay. I wrote that as the, for the architectural and the era of significance, which we're actually shifting to the 1960s, because the historic, the photographs that we found basically are the same as it looks today. And that's the familiar, like embodiment of item number 5. I should read it. Yep. Unique location, singular physical characteristic represents an established and familiar visual feature of the neighborhood. So we would like to establish an era of significance of the 1960s for that criteria. Other than that, figuring out the mystery and the reason we want to do that is so we can provide as much information as we can for any future work that's going to happen on that site. So we don't want we want it to be airtight when somebody goes to alter, because it's not always necessarily going to be a bank, but it could be. But 10 years, 15 years from now, when the owner decides to make alterations, you want to have all the information available for why we elected to move forward with this nomination. And we're missing those couple pieces of that fin structure in the roof, where the temporary building was, that is called out in the article, where the vault that it's shown on the Sanborn map, where that is in relation to the existing building. So there's still a few pieces missing, unfortunately. So I don't think it's there in order to move it forward for public hearing just yet. Unless anyone else has anything they've found that I don't know.
I actually have an administrative question for the nomination. We've talked extensively about the building, but I just want to note it's a fairly large site. Are we going to be extending the nomination to the entire site, or are we doing just that building?
What are you proposing? be included?
What am I proposing? Well, just being specific about the nomination.
Nominations are for properties, not for buildings, unless it's for the property. So if site work were to be done, it would need to come to the Historic Preservation Commission to make sure that the alterations that were made don't impact the reasons for the building being nominated.
So as I call out in the architectural, though, the drive-through portion would be non-contributing to this building. So that's specifically called out.
Okay.
That will, well, if we decide to move it forward, that will be specifically called out
Yep.
in the
So it
nomination.
would just be it wouldn't be the parcel, it's just the actual building itself.
No,
Right.
No, because it's
No.
the whole
it's,
property.
yeah,
the whole
it's the
property.
entire property, except I would say the important aspect of it is the building. The familiar feature is the building.
And that's why it's important to be very specific about what are the character defining features. And
Exactly.
the drive-through will be listed as a non-contributing feature so that it's made aware that that can be altered without
Right.
disrupting the character defining features of the building.
So, if they want to add some sort of addition to the back, they would follow the National Interior or Secretary of the Interior standards if we decide to landmark. So
Sort
that
of
would come before review.
similar but opposite to the Hedstrom House, where after the fact, we're looking at that particular structure within now it's nestled in other ones that aren't eligible and wouldn't apply. This one, we're saying it's open, but the character defining elements of this part of it are what's important.
If you don't mind, could we talk about those character defining features for a second? So we're saying those would be the columns, I'm not sure what you would call it, but like the articulation on the top of the building, perhaps?
So,
The
I mean,
parapet.
I don't know if you want to read the whole thing, but.
No, I mean, I read what's in front of me, but I guess I'm
No,
just
this is
laying.
new. This is new.
Oh, I haven't seen that.
No,
Okay.
it's not in the packet.
Oh, okay. I'll take a look after, but I guess I'm just trying to be sold on this one because I do have a very similar outlook on this one as I did the previous property. Minus the columns, the articulation on the top, I feel like this building could be dropped anywhere and not be architecturally significant in many ways. I mean, we have a backlit sign on it. Again, this is the same neighborhood situation as the other building. In fact, it's in close proximity to that, right? It's just a block away. So I guess I'm just saying I'm a hard sell on this one too.
So, yeah, part of this is the materiality. So there's limestone that runs all through the building, including the surround around the door, the columns, the pediment, the window surrounds, the cornice, rain table, all the stone coping at the top. So this is a case where I believe the building is constructed of materials that are at a higher, better materials than other examples. So while it may not be the best key bank building in the area, it's still visually, historically significant in this community.
This building has a lot of colonial revival
I was
features.
gonna say,
A
to
lot.
your point, Jeff, I'm trying to like, okay, what if we plunked this in South Buffalo? What if we plunked it in Tonawanda?
This is the epitome of Amherst in
For
the
this community,
1950s
yep.
and 60s.
For this community, yeah.
This to me, this is a great example of Amherst's development. You know, although it's always been a bank at that location from everything we found. When Amherst was suburbanizing and you had the post-war housing boom of the capes everywhere in not far away
Not Amherst.
Eggertsville, you know, this building and many other buildings in the village, like the one we're sitting in, became, you know, it was the colonial wave. So they were taking down the 1800s, early 1900s buildings, and they were making these colonial structures up and down Main Street to fit all of this post-war housing that was just everywhere. And then, you know, soon after, I mean, in the 50s, well, 60s was when like the Ryan homes were all developing and all of these
70s.
sub-developments.
That was more 70s. I
My
would say,
grandparents had one of the first ones on
In
Klein.
Ryan?
Mhm. So, I mean, this is the epitome of Amherst in the 1950s, and that is really when things just spread out and just kept going. It was the beginning of the boom.
And, you know, to add to that too, that when the architect did the addition in 1961, they did an excellent job of defining that building away, but still talking to the original building. It's a really nice job of what the National Interior Secretary, I always confuse that, Secretary of Interior standards would say to use for an addition. They carried over the same elements, although it's a different material. It still talks to the original, the coining on the corners of the new building, separate it away from the original building. So it's very obvious what was original and what was 1960s. So I would say that this building's really held up very well. It has a lot of original characters or original features that are exist. Don't look at the shutters on the front, but all the limestone bits, the windows are original. Now we just need to find when they changed the facade from what was the temporary bank with the vault in the back to this. So we think we're honing in on that, but we don't have a date for when this facade was applied to the, I guess, west and north facades or west and north portions of the building. Is that right? Not the wrong way. Northwest, yeah.
I mean, I laid multiple Sanborns, Erie
Yeah.
County GIS, the other historic maps that Brian found over Google Images was using Amherst comprehensive property searches to find out the perimeter distances of the property. And I've been able to piece together overlays that are just not matching up. And I suspect that because when the properties along Harlem and was it Amherstdale were subdivided, I know that they were then subdivided again and they did not follow the same pattern.
Yeah.
And there are pieces that were gobbled up by Main Street businesses, but at the same time, this very regular grid that existed developed post 1930s when quite a few of the residential properties that surround this bank were built. So, but we can find from the historic map that Brian found from, I think, the 1930s,
1932.
1932, you know, they do have, you know, the distance of these properties. So you can say, well, this distance plus the next one should equal that, but it's not. They redid it at some point.
Yep.
So what I think happened, because the maps don't overlap at the actual bank, but they match up everywhere around. The Froman building, the yellow commercial next to the Froman building, that was an original, you know, the centerpiece was the original residence. All of those line up exactly. So what I think happened at some point, well, we know Harlem Road widened, Main Street widened, these properties, you know, they shrunk, and for some reason, this little square with the rectangular, or this rectangle with the long rectangular strip down the side of it, if you place them exactly where they're supposed to be on the image, you get a bigger rectangle, and the bigger rectangle is actually the building size that's there now, minus that far west addition.
Yeah.
So it's like the property was drawn up several times differently, and this is just kind of where we are now.
Yeah.
So we don't think that the drawings were incorrect?
No, because the other properties are exactly where they should be.
So, yeah, I mean, to me, I think we're far enough that, I guess I don't know. Would it,
I was gonna say, like, what else can we research at this point?
yeah, like what else is left
Like,
out there
we've
without
all
knowing what's out
worked on
there?
it, Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. I'm not sure.
I think we have so much information, not only from an architectural standpoint, but history of who ran it, you know, the neighborhood, the community, Midland Trust. I think we have so much information to not only support it architecturally significant, but other categories as well, or criteria.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's got a 100-year history of being a bank at that corner.
Yep. But do you feel like it's strong enough to schedule a public hearing?
No, I think we need to massage the applications still more. I mean, there are pieces that need to be added to it. The graphics, your piece on the architectural,
Okay.
and we need to put it together.
Finalize an application or nomination, I should say.
Yeah, I mean, the process that's been had needs to be documented in the nomination. And is the 1960s photo even in here?
Yes. Ooh, good point.
So maybe we can have that all put together by the
Yeah.
next meeting?
Well, before. Because we'd have to get it to James,
Yeah.
and I'd want everyone to review.
And again,
It's not in here.
I know that it's not possible with whatever program this is, but these photos need to be captioned.
Yeah.
I have updated photos of like actually going out instead of the Google Maps too, so I can add those and then do
Yeah,
the
okay.
captions for that as well. Because I did every elevation, close-up photos of the windows too and everything, so I can add that in for sure.
All right. Would you be okay if we set up a working session to just go through it all?
Yes.
With that? All right, let's do that.
Okay.
And then, I mean, that should be like what, a week or two?
Yeah.
Yeah. We have pretty much everything that we're going to have.
We just need to organize it.
We just organize, notate.
Mhm.
Polish.
Yep. Okay.
I mean, the period is significant, needs to change drastically, so.
Yeah, it's in
Yep.
that.
There.
It's there.
So getting back to the nomination, then the address 4467, that encompasses every bit of property at that address, but then the actual landmark is going to be this front section, which is the historic section.
It's both. It's, I would say it's the improved portion of the property, right? The buildings that are constructed.
I'm looking at page 71 in the section. It says Key Bank and on the front, and then there's shutters on the windows.
Yep.
And then what's behind that was an addition? Is that?
No, so what we don't have is what the original looked like when the temporary structure was built in 1930 or 1920,
1929.
1929. Thank you. So there was a temporary structure built. The articles state that. And then there was also a separate storefront that's shown on the Sanborn map that it was adjacent to this bank. And though we're trying to line up the overlays of the map with what exists now. And we're not finding a congruent set of maps or set of structures that are shown with what exists today. So that's the one piece that's missing, but we're not ever sure we're going to find what was originally there. And it doesn't actually really matter because the era of significance is this visual right here. That has been the same visual since 1960, whenever that photo was. It's not my phone.
Was it 61?
I'll find it. It is. These pictures are from July 2nd, 1965. That's this. You guys don't have that in your packet. Oh, sorry. Yeah, it's sideways. Can't turn it. I'm not able to turn it. It'll flip if I flip it.
It's this one, right?
Yeah, it's changed. Yep. I just sent this. I think you have it. Yep, it's that one. There you go. But I just make it a share drive so I can hop things into it because it's pixelated. It's not able to send the full.
Make sure you guys share that.
Okay. Thank you, James. All right, so with that, we're going to do a working session. And other than that, I don't know, have anyone else has any questions or anything to add? Nope. I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Well, second.
Kate will second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 7-0. All right, thank you. All right, on to old business. Item number 4, local landmark plaques at the Main Street entranceways. James, do you have an update?
Yes. So just want to reiterate, the highway department is willing to install the plaque onto the Brun Road wall. So we can move forward with that, provided that the scope of work that you, Brian, and Haley have developed together. If I have your permission to go forward that to Steve Floss, the highway department, I can go do that and get that executed. We do have a second entranceway plaque that we have. If we'd like to decide on that, we can. But we would need another location for it. So that is my update. We can
Still
at
the
least have
second.
one installed.
But if,
But just wanted to keep you guys aware that I do have a second street furniture plaque.
Yep.
That we can decide to find a location for.
And we looked.
Okay.
I don't know.
I say get this one up and then we can figure out a different way for maybe the more roughly cut stone
Mhm.
ones.
Seems like if we always come back to, it's gonna require a different kind of attachment
Mhm.
or placement than
It-
what we might have originally thought. was
yeah.
gonna be possible.
I mean, if we're, there is low places like near the ground where this could go, as long as it's away from road salt, it might be okay to put it. Like we looked at the gatehouses, but all of them are within areas, all the locations that that plaque could go in are susceptible to being damaged by salt, corrosion. So unless there's another spot that's in more of like a pedestrian area or in like a grassy or lawn area, I'm not sure. So let's get the one up at least.
Okay.
All right, so that was just informational. There's no action that we have to take on that. Is there anything else that we should, is there anything else to discuss or no?
No.
Okay. Let's move to item number 5, the education plan website and presentations.
I do have an update. So we've talked about it in the past, and again recently was having a note on the comprehensive property information page for not only the local landmarks in the town, but also locally eligible landmarks in the town, aka blue rated properties.
Yep.
I am happy to say that I've finalized that with the IT department. That's up and running on our comprehensive property information page.
That's great.
These are 2 examples that I have. One of a landmark that we recently had done, which was 22 Chateau. So when you go to that page, you look up the tax information, other property information. It has a tag and a note saying that it was identified as a landmark. And then for more information on historically designated properties, sends them right to our historic preservation chapter, so they know the procedure for making exterior alterations to that property. Likewise, for eligible properties, blue rated properties, matter of fact, the link under there, so for more information, sends them to an information page that explains what blue rated means and what an eligible landmark entails in the town of Amherst. So brief information, but I'm happy to say that's finally up and running. So it's another location for people to say, oh, hey, this is important to know. Probably should check in with the town before I do any exterior alterations.
Excellent.
Thank you. Simple test. Should have been done a while ago.
The bank.
Correct. Yes.
James, where do you find that?
So it's the town website.
Yeah.
The town has the comprehensive property information
Yeah.
program. That's so you can go to the town website. It's usually on the assessor page.
It's even on the main page. If you
Is it on
scroll
the-
down, there's like a large image
Thanks.
that directly links to it.
Yes, yes. So anytime you want to look at your tax bill, school taxes, and other property information, like how many bedrooms or bathrooms you have, that's what that page does for you. Now we've added a note to those properties that have historic eligibility or designation.
So yeah, that'll be extremely useful for when you're realtors. Yeah,
But
exactly.
My question is, realtors don't use that site. They use a realist tax record.
That's a great point, Mary Lou. So my efforts don't stop here. Obviously, this is one location. No, that's okay. Matter of fact, I spoke with Dan Howard about this morning. We are also looking into or speaking with the assessors to have their system, RPS, updated so that when a real estate professional goes to look through those sources, that'll be identified in another source with the assessors. So that's another location. Another idea that we've discussed that I have documents for, which is our not first time homeowner, but new residents to the town of Amherst typically get a mailing. I've spoken with the assessors on this in the past too. We can attach an informational packet that can go with the first, new residents to the town, explaining what these properties are and explaining what the Historic Preservation Commission does exactly. Something to provide a little bit more information so, these types of things aren't so much of a surprise. But again, there's no perfect method to tell absolutely everybody. You kind of have to plant it in different places where they will look. So thank you. That is a very good point, and that's something that I'm actively looking into too.
Because with all the disclosures going on today in the backlash, somebody that's gonna-
Yes, it always helps around tax season. That's when people are looking at the page. But yeah, more better.
Thank you.
Right.
Right.
Well, I mean, at least it's somewhere, which is a start, which
Right,
is
and they
awesome.
can't say it was nowhere.
Yeah, that's right. So it's fantastic work. Thank you. Councilwoman Marinucci, do you anticipate getting questions from residents about this new information that's going to appear when they go to do these searches? I just want to make sure that if anything comes up, you can direct them. I don't know if you want to direct them to the planning department, to us, or thank you. Correct.
But I think this is a good step. I mean, James and I talked about this. I know that it's supposed to transparency for property owners. One of my big concerns was consent to new homeowners right after they bought a property, and then they're like, wait, what does this mean? I'm now screwed. I don't want to catch people off guard. I prefer people to have more information. It doesn't change the fact whether it's blue rated or already been designated. This only puts it out there of what that means. Right. I think the more places that we have this information that we stumble upon, actively search for, it's better. So when they have questions, it doesn't change whether the property was rated before or after they saw it on this website. So I think it's a positive, even if it leads to questions, which James will.
Yeah, I guess it was more of like a process. Do you think like
Is there an avenue to do that?
Yes, the Buffalo Niagara Board of Realtors, and they sent out informational notices all the time. At least it would have appeared there. Yeah, there's a possibility. Nobody but me is,
do you think it would be prudent to have some sort of like presentation or something to that board?
yeah, I do.
Or do they have like meetings too? Like
Mm,
breakfast? I don't know if there's like.
Not the whole board.
Or something.
Yeah, the individual agencies do, yeah, the whole, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Correct. My neighbor was a former president of that board,
Mhm.
Sharon Simonelli. She's
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
Mhm.
about stuff.
That's where they go anyway. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, I know, it's stupid. They've been forced to be part of, they've been forced to be part of the Board of Realtors. They're no longer a separate, yeah, they're no longer separate.
Well, then, I think Mary Lou, let me know if there's a meeting or some sort of presentation sure, yeah. Because I'd be happy to make some sort of presentation or, along with the town or whatever the right thing is to do.
I think the best thing to do is put it on that informational, when you log in, you see announcements. I mean, everybody's got to log into that and see those announcements.
For that group?
For the Buffalo Niagara Association of Realtors, every property that you look for, you have to log into BNAR.
Okay.
I'm sure we could ask, the president and there's an overall CEO. If there's somewhere we could present that, but those are just individual people.
Okay.
The whole 3,000 of us
Yeah.
see that site.
All right, so that's part one. Part two is, well, I mean, not exactly listed, but we were planning on having some sort of town hall with the other HPCs. Do you want to chime in on? I think Haley's been reaching out for a list, and unfortunately,
I
has.
sent it to you a few weeks ago.
Oh, okay.
And I found it today because I was sick when you sent that, so
Okay.
I just saw it today.
It did take me at least 2 times to try to get that list, so.
I do have the list. I found it today.
Oh,
I think we still have time to send that out, set it up for November.
It's not super updated. Okay. Yeah, it's not super updated.
okay. Are we still going
November.
for that Thursday, November 14th?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, we got plenty of time.
Okay.
Okay.
Who?
You and I were supposed to write the letter.
Let's do that. Working session number 2. Okay. Yep. Okay. Let's do it. Okay. And then there was a training today from NAPC. I know Kate and I were on it. I don't know if anyone else was on it. Disturbances in adjacent properties.
Oh, did you do that one?
Yep. Just really a lot of common sense stuff, I would say.
Except for when the engineer tried to pick a fight with architects and I had to put him straight.
That's right.
Oh, wow. Do you like them? Do you find them better? Yeah.
Yeah, I do. It's just, so they,
What is this about?
so webinars.
Oh, okay. You've been reviewing them?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's tough because the ones that are over 90 days are not available anymore, and they don't have any.
Because of they had that big event.
Yeah, so the other ones are just available on YouTube, so I can't get credit for it, but.
Oh, yeah, that's right. James reached out to me, and it's this board's like self-reporting.
Yeah.
So, you're gonna,
Listing it out for fun because there's a lot.
yeah. So you can mark down, whatever hours you spent and which ones you took.
Write down like which the titles of them.
Perfect.
Yep, title and how many credits. Yep, perfect.
Are there any on Georgian or Art Deco architecture?
Colonial.
There's money. No.
Okay, colonial.
Possibly.
I missed something. Are we planning another in-person training?
Yes,
Or-
November 14th.
Oh, November 14th.
How many hours is
It's not for credit.
I was gonna say, right, that's what I think Mary Lou's asking though.
No, not for credit.
Okay.
It's a round table.
Oh, roundtable, okay.
Yep.
With other local HBCs. Other
Mhm.
HBCs.
Yes, right. We had one last year.
That's right. Yep. I couldn't make the one last year.
Where will that be? Here.
In this room, I believe. We have it scheduled. Yeah.
That was on.
Okay. I don't know if anyone else has anything to add for trainings or any opportunities. I know NAPC is sending more out now that they've restarted after their national event. So there should be still opportunities this year to watch a couple. But I think you both have been on other trainings. I've seen you on there. Yep. Alternative materials. Oh, fantastic. Okay. So, yeah,
Just, sorry.
I'm not worried about everyone getting their hours in. It's in our set of rules. I think everyone needs 4 hours of training. Yep. So, I guess next month, I'll send a reminder out to everyone to start labeling what they've taken. I know Sue had a form. I'll have to figure out how to update it.
We can each provide you a list.
Yeah. Yep. Because it'll go into the annual report for SHPO.
There's an NACP one tomorrow for protecting historic
I was gonna say, I forgot
Yeah,
about today.
doing that one. So it's protecting historic cemeteries. The NACP is doing that one tomorrow at 1. I don't know. It's an hour and a half long.
I submitted my certificates to James a few weeks ago, so is that adequate?
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And just keep in mind today, we're hitting the end of the year. So if we have any unspent funds, we will lose them. So if we need to earmark them, we should be thinking about that now
Well, they have to be encumbered by the end of the year.
by the end of the year. Yeah.
Do we know how much we have and what's possibly on the table for expenditures?
Well, I imagine we'd want to renew our NAPC membership.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That seems to be working well for us.
Yep.
Yes. Yeah. But it's super essential that it gets in before the end of the year. Right.
The bill hasn't been paid, but the PO is created. Right. The purchase order has to be created.
Yeah. I need an
in this
invoice.
fiscal. Yeah. Okay. Maybe I guess we're going off agenda a bit into miscellaneous. So again, I'll close out number 5. There's no action with old business number 5. There's just a presentation. So shifting into miscellaneous now, talking about the budget. I think it would be wise if there was maybe a couple people that got together to look at what's available. James, I don't know, can you send that to me and I'll shoot it around to the group so we can figure out
Yep.
best way to expend those funds.
Yep.
Thank you. Okay. Yep.
There's more street furniture that's not plaqued yet. We just picked 2 or 3 here, so
I nominate Norm to organize plaques.
it's,
As long as we know they can get installed somehow.
well, that becomes the challenge.
That's the
yeah.
challenge. That's right.
James just has like 15.
Brian,
Let's not do that.
I might be incorrect about this, but didn't we use those funds for Preservation Day
Some. Yep.
for next year? Could-
No,
we
we
can't-
haven't done anything. We talked about it. Maybe making new signs because the old ones are starting to get tattered. That's a possibility.
Mhm.
We spent money for advertising this year and money for reimbursements on food. I don't know if Carrie had any other expenses. The museum had any other expenses. Sorry if I don't know.
Will there be any expenses associated with the roundtable in November?
We,
But I guess they
we could, yeah, we could provide light refreshments or something. That would be nice. Kate and I will work it out.
Do we need a motion for that then?
Yeah, because are we going to have our meeting before then?
After?
Our next meeting, this next meeting is the 20th. Mary was
Okay,
right.
so then we need a motion now.
So I'll make a motion to use less than,
Not exceeding.
not exceeding, I don't know, how much money we have left? We'll say $150 for refreshments for the roundtable that Amherst Historic Preservation Commission is hosting on November 14th at Town Hall.
And I will second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 7-0. Not to exceed $150.
I think that's what we paid for the food for HPC, or for Preservation Day, so we should be able to do that, no problem, with just cookies and waters or whatever.
The people were happy with chips,
There's a
including me.
little encumbrance on the account. A tiny one. All right.
Got less than.
Okay, is there any other items that any other board member has? Nope. Then I will make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
Seconded by Ms. Waterman Culpa. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 7-0. Thank you, everyone. See you next month.